Boom. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Holidays, or whatever it is you celebrate. It's the last. Wait. Oh wait, do they release? They're gonna release new books on the 31st. I don't know, but hey, last batch before Christmas, I guess. Back to the old comic recommendation route with your friend Carlz. Man, I think if I do like a top favorite comics from 2025, I might do it on 2026 because there must be one of those weeks, either the last week of December or the first week of January, where they don't release books. Man, these guys are so exploited for our entertainment. Well, I think it's a worthy sacrifice. I don't know. You can call it like that. But anyways, Merry Christmas, holidays, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. As long as you are happy with your loved ones and are not fucking or screwing people in a, the bad way. Because the sexual way could be good, I know, and as long as it's consensual and you're not hurting anyone. Well, whatever. That's way over there. It's not the point. The point is, comic don't stop, and so I won't either. And this week, I didn't care for news, so I didn't even check for news. That's why. Last week was all about reviews. I had a lot of fun. I always have fun reviewing shit. That's kind of my thing. But now we're gonna back to the all good, reliable. Just a couple of good recommendations, as well, a couple of updates, a couple of things that I've been sort of not obsessed, but they've been lingering. It's like a name or a book that keeps appearing and appearing and appearing, like week after week, and I don't know why. I'm gonna try to explain that quickly, the reasoning behind it. So let's just jump right into it before Christmas dinner gets cold or whatever, right? So let's dive right into it with the book of the week, one that I've been halfway predicting, halfway anticipating. I said so. The first crossover of the Absolute Universe is happening in Absolute Wonder Woman number 15. Yeah. Apparently, there's gonna be some magic-related thing happening in Gotham City. Will, of course, make them cross paths. And man, I cannot be more excited to see this crossover because these characters are so different to the mainline ones. I mean, Wonder Woman, not as much. I mean, Batman. Wait, no. Batman is more different to the mainland than Wonder Woman. But as I said before, the biggest appeal of the Absolute Universe is the fact that they have managed to capture the essence of these characters and make them feel so fresh. But in the Absolute Universe, Wonder Woman is all about magic, which is something that I always found kind of like strange when they sort of did the whole run of Justice League Dark and Wonder Woman was sort of the leader. I never saw Wonder Woman as like a magic user or anything like that, so I was like, yeah, why is she like the leader of the magic? Well, now in the Absolute Universe, they absolutely are, no pun intended. This is definitely going to affect how they eventually go to the first more hero-oriented crossover of the Absolute Universe, considering that the Absolute Evil they already released in issue 1, right? Did I read it? I think I did. It was too much of an introductory issue to think too much out of it. But anyways, the first two heroes meet in the Absolute Universe, and the way they did it is just brilliant. Because I don't think, well, probably somebody did, someone smarter than me, but I don't think much people were thinking about how big this thing was going to be. If you're not part of the editor's office, and they probably had some ideas out of this, but we as consumers, like, have no idea. It's like, are they gonna do a crossover? To me, when this all thing began, it was just like an Elseworld type of situation. But apparently or clearly, it hasn't been just an Elseworld type of situation. On the contrary, it's probably DC's biggest hit of 2025. Like, hands down, more than any event or like anything. The Absolute Universe was the hit for DC on 2025. Like, no doubt about it. And well, apparently it was such a good of a hit that, well, we are going places. I wonder if anyone's like first introduction, like new younger people, were introduced to DC from the Absolute Universe. Imagine that shit. Like people who saw the Star Wars prequels first, and there's a classic saying in the Star Wars fandom that this is my Star Wars. Like depending on which one you grew up with and which one was the first one you saw. Probably some people do with the Absolute Universe. But anyways, the book of the week, Absolute Wonder Woman. The first absolute team up is here. What a tagline. Next. What is Spider-Man doing this week? If I join this week's Spider-Man with the previous ones, I'm recommending Amazing Spider-Man now for two reasons. One, it just like clicked to me in the last issue. For some reason, it just clicked to me, and I enjoyed the hell out of the two. I mean, you cannot say it's like two Spider-Mans because Norman Osborn is just plain Spider-Man for a bit. It's not like a superior Spider-Man sort of scenario. But the way they did that, having Peter out in outer space, having an adventure, and Norman on Earth trying to be Spider-Man, and sort of like dealing in an empathy way with the problems that Peter faces on a daily basis. For some reason, last week it dawned to me, and it felt like so refreshing. It's like, oh, Peter is having like a sort of a vacation. They separated them to make them understand, not necessarily each other, but like mostly Norman. And now they're bringing the goblins back, the permanent sort of hunting force behind Norman. And in the last Amazing Spider-Man with Peter in space, he had a similar revelation. So it's Norman's revelation time. How they play with both characters, and how they sort of expanded Spider-Man as a character itself, right? Like, it just dawned to me. It was so clearly done. I was thinking like, oh, if Peter is doing that and Norman is doing this, how do I understand the figure of Spider-Man under this light? So they definitely nailed it, and we are dangerously close to Peter's return to Earth, and having to deal with all the issues that he left behind. Though I've always been really suspicious about Norman's eventual return to badhood. Can you say that? Badhood, evilhood, villainhood? I don't know, because he is, right? There's no way. And that cover is funny because the Hobgoblin is like aiming the pumpkin to his nuts. So when I saw this cover, I was like, I gotta recommend this one. This shit is so funny. Why is he aiming for the nuts? That is not nice. You don't aim for the dude's nuts. Maybe that's what makes you such an evil person, right? Like straight down the middle, man. Straight to the nuts. That's no bueno. No bueno. But anyways, looking forward to the Peter's return and whatever comes next for Amazing Spider-Man. It just cooked in the end. And, well, a great run. Next. So, another update I was thinking about Cloak or Dagger, and I was thinking how not really that prominent the character has ever been, and I'm thinking about like this is a really short ongoing story with a really not that relevant character, but somehow the concept has come together in a way that like I wasn't expecting it. I don't want to spoil this one, and I don't want to say that this is only for Cloak and Dagger or Cloak or Dagger like fans, you know. But the truth is, we're probably never gonna get a story about these characters like this miniseries from the Age of Revelation, which is, by the way, almost over. We might do a review of the whole Age of Revelation in the future, but that's the main thing and the main issue why the main point I wanna make to recommend Cloak or Dagger. I don't think we will get another story about these characters anytime soon. They're not even that popular in Marvel Rivals anymore. I think they're one of the worst healers nowadays. They're always good, but like the buff to the other healer have been like way too much. But that's my point. I wanna really recommend it now, and I don't wanna spoil what happened in the previous issue. But I'm afraid of that. We're not ever gonna get in the comic version like a more in-depth and a more complementary and emotional story for these characters than what we are having or we are getting in Cloak or Dagger. So if you have any likeness for these characters, I mean likeness, any like, if you like these characters in any degree, pick this one up because, as I said, it's really good. And I'm not that much of a fan of the characters. I do wish the series had continued. Perhaps they would have been famous. I don't know. Imagine Cloak and Dagger or like any of the Runaways on the Avengers things. They would be a little out of place, but so are like many of the characters they actually have. But whatever. Next. I've said it before, I'm not a big Green Arrow fan. The previous story arc about the Crimson Archer and everything we do with drugs and whatever, that is the sort of thing that you just sort of read, you know. I don't want to sound mean, but it's like the type of thing you read in the toilet to me. You know what I mean? It's like something that it doesn't really catches your attention. And why do I want to recommend Green Arrow 31 and sort of like a new story arc about him? There's something that is like a continuous cycle for Green Arrow, and it's a whole family deal. Green Arrow, to me, more than a detective or like a vigilante or a superhero, has always been a family-oriented character. It is. He's a guy that built his family out of like deep connections that have or do not have blood related to them. That is one of the reasons why I like the CW series. It was all about relationships. His romantic relationships, now his son now in the comics, and how he adopted basically all of the extended family from Roy Harper and his daughter, and like, you know. So I'm really excited because they announced that the new story arc is again gonna have to do with family. No, it's just a simple mathematics to me. If you make the character about family, even though you might still just read it in the toilet, because it's not as entertaining or as exciting as other DC characters, it's always stories that are good for you. By the way, they never really expanded on the fact that during the Absolute Evil, I already forgot the name of the event where all the heroes lost their powers. they have never really addressed Green Arrow's alleged betrayal, even if it was quite convenient and an employed device likely. It was still like sort of a betray, and they never really addressed it fully. I guess what I'm trying to say is like, excuse me, tea. I guess what I'm trying to say is, to me, the strength of the character is all about family relations and how they discuss them and they explore them and use the comic book setting to make them more intense. So, Green Arrow 31st, according to the press release, is going back to those topics. So, as I said, even if I'm still gonna read it in the toilet, at least I'm gonna read something like, I'm not gonna say I'm passionate about, but that I have like a stronger interest in. So might as well recommend it to you guys. Green Arrow, new story arc. Next, DC's KO has been entertaining. To no one's surprise, has been like the Superman event again. I have no problem with that, but the Terrific 10 story arc that had Mr. Terrific doing like an investigation on the whole Omega energy and whatever, just basically like backstage extra elements apart from the main event, right? Just that. Um, it hasn't been that much of exciting, because you know that in the end the event is gonna come back to the tournament, and it necessarily needs to end there in some character having a revelation or a change of personality to get this Omega energy or whatever to kill Darkseid. But I was really interested in this in the press release for Justice League Unlimited, because they say, what was the word? I have it written down here. This issue is about to break some hearts. But why am I recommending this? Because I need to recommend it as a tandem with Mr. Terrific Year 1. I think they made not necessarily like a big deal about Mr. Terrific, but to me personally, I've really enjoyed how just recently, they build up Mr. Terrific as this sort of, not the boss, but this is an important figure in the Justice League. And if you mix that with Mr. Terrific Year 1, you have a whole new perspective on him. And well, if you want to sprinkle Mr. Terrific from the Superman movie, it's fine. I think it's fitting. So we are in a Mr. Terrific sort of stage where you want to take the character to an emotional next step. And I have this feeling that this story arc being concentrated on him is gonna be that. And then imagine you have these characters that live forever, right? But you often want to have like roller coaster of emotions for them, and that is what you get when you mix Mr. Terrific Year 1 with Justice League Unlimited, this particular event. And as I said, sprinkle a little bit of Mr. Terrific from the Superman movie. You get a moment in time where you want to see this character, read about this character, and see him experiencing things like a human being would, like extreme opposite or like challenging settings. So that's why I'm recommending Justice League Unlimited, the Terrific 10 Part 3, as part of the DC's KO event. Like a Mr. Terrific Watch warning, Mr. Terrific Watch incoming. Next. You know, I have mixed feelings about the Dreadnought War, which was the first sort of in-universe event of the Energon universe at Image Comics. So now they're doing this, not necessarily a crossover, but like a small event called the Quintesson War as part of the Void Rivals. Now, I've always found those characters so fucking annoying. I don't like their design, I don't like their attitude, and whatever. But as the Energon universe began in Body Rivals, the Energon universe seems to begin to write its more like universal sort of elements back in Boy Rivals. They have centered this whole deal on the quintessence as like a key element that has driven the Transformer story, like from really far away. Like these Boy Rivals happen really far away from Earth, really far away from Earth. Eventually they're gonna cross over, of course, but this is the lore. I have a feeling that this Quintessence War is gonna be a big lore drop. You already established like a baseline for Void Rivals and its characters and stories, and you are not necessarily see them crossing over to the rest of the Energon universe. Well, now this is the time. This is the time because they have, as I said, they have focused the storytelling through these characters, the Quintessence, and whatever they do or they are planning. So this is like the spillage type of story, like the unavoidable spillage story. Just can't avoid it if you're gonna do a Quintessence story. Well, that's what it's going to be, right? It's gonna be about things that are gonna be relevant, important, and well, I don't know if universe changing, but certainly it's gonna define something, which was not the case with the Dreadnought War, the inside event for G.I. Joe. But the Dreadnought War has always also had some interesting development for the G.I. Joe storyline. So it's not bad at all. But it's never gonna be as impactful as this one. So if you've been liking the Energon universe, if you've been liking what Robert Kirkman and company has been doing with these, with G.I. Joe, Transformers, Boy Rivals, well, you not only I am recommending this one. I think you need to read this one. You just need it. Sorry, it's gonna be important. Next. This is an update I recommended, the Return to Sleepy Hollow before. This is issue 2. Issue 1 was full of revelations and such. I didn't really liked it completely because of one thing. To me, the Sleepy Hollow movie, Tim Burton's movie, sorry, was all about this contrast between the supernatural and Ichabod Crane's character, sort of really scientific type of mind. They already set up this to be highly supernatural, and of course the Sleepy Hollow movie, it has supernatural elements, but I liked how, like 3/4 of it, the sort of challenge or sort of the conflict between science and the supernatural is still present. For the comics, it's not that much so. So they are really focusing on the supernatural and the kind of like horror side of it, with a sprinkle of character development that spilled over from the movie. I mean, it was interesting, but I have an excuse to recommend Return to Sleepy Hollow issue 2 by IDW Dark, sorry. Is that for some reason I'm missing Johnny Depp's performance as Ichabod Crane. I have to say it. I don't know, I just, even though he's like so quirky and stupid, I'm missing it. I can't see that character in the book, and on how the character is written and how he behaves in the book. I'm not seeing that, and for some reason I just miss it. It gives the character some levity and some kind of like dumb stupidity, like innocence, despite being so clever. that I'm not seeing in the book. And without the whole Christopher Walken riding around, I don't know. I don't know. Then you go like, why are you recommending it then? Because I'm hoping to see some of that in the future, maybe. I don't know. At least it's pretty to watch. Welcome to the news section. The excuse book to talk about the same characters in another setting by half washed out actors that now they are more known by controversies than performances. But anyways, still, if you're interested in the franchise, just give it a read. Who knows? Maybe Christopher Walken will appear in the future. Next. This is the book, as I mentioned at the beginning, that I've mentioned way too much in the past weeks, but for some reason it has a hold on me. And it's Robert Kirkman and David Finch's Skinbreaker. I don't need to praise the art, but it has this magic quality in the rhythm. This is just 4 issues. Just 4, and so much shit has happened. And I remember the past issue, I was thinking like, if I wanna think about the many things that are implied that have happened in these brief issues, if I wanna think about it, I'm never gonna end. And I don't know, I'm no writer, I'm just a bald guy, but I think it's a stroke of genius. Like the weapons, the rituals, their behavior, their culture, you know, their clothes, their style of living of these orc-like creatures, their philosophy, their politics. And there's this genius thing about it that I'm gonna imply all of it. You know, I'm gonna imply all of it. I'm not gonna show it to you. I'm not gonna explain it to you. I'm not gonna put like a lengthy introduction or like a big text box saying, no, in the year I don't know, and I don't know, the tribal I don't know, and they went and they did this. No. I'm gonna show you only the intense moments, and somehow it's gonna fucking work. And a mix between the art and the intensity of what I'm showing you, you're gonna get sucked into this fantastic universe, into these characters, and into the really, really, really intense main storyline, which by issue 4 just have a span of years and characters that are not even shown. I don't know. I think Skinbreaker is a brush of genius, and I love that shit when you sit down to read a book and just goes fast. Not only because you are enjoying it, because it's not overly wordy, and like, you know, it gives you this rush of creativity, emotion, and fantasy. Yeah? Just like a like a quick hit of your favorite drug, comic books. You take this one hit, like just one quick, straight to the vein, and that's Skinbreaker. So totally recommended. What more can I say? Skinbreaker by Image Comics. Next. So something weird happened on the way to heaven. No. Just as Skinbreaker did this sort of gives you this really intense, like a shot of comic book narratives and whatnot. The guy in the chair by Hannah Rose May. What a long name. I don't want to fuck with the other name. But anyways, this is a story about spies, about big corporations, and about betrayal. Or should I spoil more? I don't know. Basically, spies get sort of guided by this one guy who is called the guy in the chair, and they have like a big company of guys in chairs that drive privately funded spies that, I don't know, do spy shit, like topple governments and like I don't know, assassinate people. But one of these spies gets quote unquote betrayed by the system, so she goes back to his guy in the chair, and now the plot thickens. In issue 3. What I like the most about this series and why am I recommending it is because, for some reason, I've never cared for any last attempt at a James Bond. Dynamite had the IP for James Bond, and they did a bunch of stories, like so many of them. Some of them including really big names. I think even Garth Ennis, one of my favorite authors of all time, was part of it. And none of those James Bond stories hit with me. There is something really interesting about spy stories and that sort of like militarized fiction or something like that. That has been popular forever. If not, ask Tom Clancy. He made a career out of it. So it's an interesting subject. And I was like sort of craving it after none of the James Bond big sort of James Bond in the books has been an ironic type of thing because it's a big universe. There's a lot of lore in it, but in the book it's like they didn't develop them, they didn't use it. It was heavily implied, so in the end you just had like individual stories with all the James Bond tropes. It's like, oh, he never dies, he's too clever, he fucks some girls, and like he suffers a little bit, but at the end of the day he's Bond. Dun, 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 and he succeeds. So I guess this spy story just hit me in the needs. I like it's just these two characters. They are so, how can you say it? How can you say it without it sounding kind of like offensive, like corny? They are like corny and they follow so many of these tropes, but somehow this small spy story is the spy story that I needed. So if you like spy stories with the whole big brother type of big evil company type of trope with like a tinge of friendship / romance and action, yeah, just like the James Bond movie that you didn't know you needed, like after you watch, what was Spectre. Ugh, god damn, that movie's bad. You watch that shit and you're like, man, I I wish this character died. And you know what? Spoiler. Anyways, The Guy in the Chair by Dark Horse Comics. Really nice and interesting spy story. Next. This could easily be the second book of the week, but I'm not gonna do that. I commented on the ending of One World Under Doom and how, despite it having such a big setup, it ended up in kind of like transitioning way. So apparently that was 100% intentional. Now Doctor Doom is quote unquote dying, and as I said, as I think I mentioned, in comics characters die so often that you don't really care for them announcing, or you don't really care for the stories being about death. You care about why, and what's gonna happen later, or the particular elements or characters of the death itself. because when they die in comics, they die and they just not, oh, I'm gonna have an accident, or like just, oh, I'm gonna have a heart attack, oh, like I'm dead. No, something kills them in a really peculiar way. So all of that is just to say that using the now pending death of Doctor Doom to introduce the next. Now this is so tricky, because of course they are announcing that Armageddon is the next big Marvel event, but I feel like it hasn't been like a really big and important one, like since what? Whenever I think about, I don't know, the Secret Wars types, the Infinity types, you think about those type of events. Like Imperial didn't count at all. I don't think I've been like clear enough on how underwhelming was Imperial to me. But anyways, the Wheel of Doom seems to bring everything together towards as I said, the rise of Armageddon. These tricksy motherfuckers, right? It's like you were so into, at least I was, you were so into what was going to happen with Doctor Doom after One World of Doom. It was so intense. The climax of that story was so good. It was so intense. Then it ended and you're like, fuck, I want more. Like, I'm curious. I'm so curious. Well, this is the quench for your curiosity thirst. The Wheel of Doom issue 1. The lead to the Armageddon. That's how they get you. That's how they get you. One after the other. You gotta keep reading. And keep reading. And keep reading. And just hoping it's fun. The Wheel of Doom, issue 1. The preamble? Prequel? No, the prologue. Yeah. Epilogue is after, right? The prologue to the Rise of Armageddon. I don't need to recommend it. It recommends itself. If it's gonna be part of the next big Marvel event, you can't not read it. And next and final recommendation of, well, maybe even the year, who knows? Trinity, Daughter of Wonder Woman by Tom King, a story about, well, Easy, the daughter of Wonder Woman. I've loved it. Like, I straight up have to say it. I loved it until this point. And I gotta praise one thing, and one thing that I want to recommend, and I urge people to go back and read this series, Daughter of Wonder Woman. Tom King, of course, is a genius, but something really peculiar happened during Trinity, that it low-key played with so many characters, timelines, and stories. So I don't want to spoil anything about, because this one is magical, but basically we have the interaction between 3 moments in time of the same character. You know, it's like 3 times. How do you call it? Is it just tries? How do you say? Triplets? I don't even know how to search for it, but whatever, fuck it. Basically, you have the same character during 3 times, 3 spots in time. Like, she's a kid, she's a teenager, and she's a young adult. And they all come together to sort of have this crazy therapy session in a way. But it's so heartwarming, because the kid brings out the cuteness, the teenager brings out the insecurities, and the adult brings up like the responsibilities. But this is such a young character. And the way, even though this is Tom King, right? Tom King has done some serious shit. They sort of give you a whole character in one miniseries. It's so well written, it's so well done, that they give you a full-on grown character. It's like if you read this as an introduction to Easy, it's so cute. They give you the introduction to this character, and she's already, to me, like a DC staple. That if I see her in future books and if I see her mentioned, I can already feel and see her like weakness, her passion, her innocence. And as this miniseries comes to an end, they are even gonna deal in a way, in a really poetic way, on her relationship with her father. Now, this is kind of like thing that low-key it went under the radar when Wonder Woman had her daughter. She had her daughter the same way Hippolyta. Hippolyta? How do you pronounce that in English? But Hippolyta, whatever. Wonder Woman's mother, the same way she had Diana, like a witch, like a witch. It was like the gods gave her sort of like a representation of love in clay. And just as Diana often does, being like a representation of like really pure good and like, I don't know, love, so is her daughter, but in a really more complex way, because it's a Wonder Woman for modern times, and so you can't just straight up be an idealistic character who often has insecurities. No, these are characters built on insecurities. So Tom King has done a wonderful job in crafting one of the breakthrough characters of 2025, Wonder Woman daughter, and it's made in such a good way, such a smart way, and such a complimentary and just playing up like brilliant way in this miniseries, Trinity, daughter of Wonder Woman. And now, as it comes to an end, or close to an end, we have given the gift of a whole full developed character, even more so than Yara, right? The other new Wonder Woman. We got is Yara from this year or from last year? Fuck, it has been that long. And now we have Yara, we have Cassie, we have Donna, we have Izzy, we have Diana. You know. But anyways, Tom King showing once again that he is just one of the genius of our generation, creating a character in such a fun, heartwarming way. Like, it's surprisingly lighthearted. It's surprisingly lovingly. You know, there's no classic, I mean, there's a little bit, but there's not so much of classic comic book character drama, like, oh man, telenovela shit. No, it's so innocent, so pristine. He gave us the gift of Easy. Easy, is it like Elizabeth Prince, I think? He gifted us with such an awesome character. And somehow it even feels like unique to all of the other Wonder Girls. You know, it was just brilliant. So I can't recommend enough, because I don't know, she's gonna be probably the heart of DC for years to come. They even built her better than Damian. You know, he has his own complexities, but they built her better than Damian, and even better than John, son of Superman. So she is bound to be the heart of DC at some point. And if you want to know the heart of DC, well, read Trinity, daughter of Wonder Woman. Now really close to an end. Brilliant. Have been brilliant, mate. And that's my last recommendation for this Christmas holiday week, whatever you want to call it. Man, I don't know, I got a little bit emotional there at the end, because I don't know, when they give you this well intended, like this is just heartwarming shit coming out from DC and Tom King. And these characters, man, these characters, they are never gonna exist. They're never gonna be people as pure. And people often said like, oh, and probably I've said it, I love it when comic book characters have like a connection with reality. They feel real. Sure, but the balance to me needs to stay into the fantasy. You need to aspire to dream about the emotions and the setting, the really special setting that gives these characters the ability to portray these unfiltered and like unadulterated and uncorrupted emotions to us regular folk. You know, you need that. You need that shit. That's the shit that keeps on coming. And people like Tom King, they're just geniuses. And yeah, it's a gift for Christmas. Anyways, another week. We just keep going. Have the bestest holidays and Christmas for the handful of people that will hear this cheer. This is for you, man. All my good, well intended, just love. You know? Don't make it weird though. Much love. Happy holidays. And if I don't see you next week, we'll see you next year. Haha. Take care. Bye bye.